Hey friends, welcome back for another video. Today we're talking about those early bloomers. Those are the kids who seem to be ahead of the curve. They pick things up quickly, or they're labeled gifted if they're in traditional school. So does your child seem to catch on to concepts effortlessly? Are they always hungry for more learning, more challenging, or more stimulation? So if this is you or your child, this video is for you. I'm going to be sharing strategies to support early bloomers while still honoring their unique timing and interests. So let's jump into it. If you are new here, I'm Kimberly Robertson, a home educating mom of 4 amazing kids, ranging from middle school down to a baby. And I love the teaching and learning philosophy of the self-directed and interest-led education. I've been homeschooling since my kids were born, and I just love serving people as much as possible and helping them on their homeschooling journey. I have a whole website where I offer resources, online courses, and one-on-one coaching to help you with all your homeschooling needs, and that is linked below. So, all right, now that that is out of the way, I want to start with this quote from Richard Feynman, a Nobel Prize winning physicist. When I was about 13, the library was going to get calculus for the practical man. By this time, I knew, because I had read the encyclopedia, that calculus was an important and interesting subject, and I ought to learn it. When I finally saw the calculus book at the library, I was very excited. I went to the librarian to check it out, but she looked at me and said, "You're just a child. What are you taking this book out for?" It was one of the few times in my life I was uncomfortable, and I lied. I said it was for my father. Let that sink in for a minute. This brilliant man who went on to win a Nobel Prize was once discouraged from learning something simply because of his age. How often do we unintentionally do this to our kids? We might say something like, "Oh, that's too advanced for you," or "You're too young for that." But what if kids know themselves better than we do? I want to ask you a reflection question so we can think deeper about this. Have you ever caught yourself dismissing or limiting what your child wanted to learn because you thought they weren't ready? I think it's so important to reflect on ideas like this, especially if you're on the fence about this kind of learning or this idea of this kind of learning. It just really helps me to grow. So I'm going to switch gears for a second, and we're going to talk about honoring our kids' natural timeline. As I've said in previous videos, one of the hardest but most important things we can do is honor our child's personal timing, whether they are early bloomers or late bloomers or somewhere in between. I do have a video about this, about respecting your child's natural timeline. I'll link to that below. But when we impose our own judgments about what's appropriate for their age, we risk extinguishing their curiosity. So my advice to you is don't hold them back. Some kids need a high level of stimulation, challenge, and even competition to stay fully engaged in learning, especially if you have an early bloomer. If you have a child that's in traditional school or private school and they seem unchallenged, you have 2 options. The first one is to advocate for a change in their school environment. So this might mean requiring more advanced work, a different learning plan, or even grade acceleration. I also want you to keep in mind, though, that schools can sometimes really resist these changes, so be prepared to advocate for your child. Another way to support your early bloomer is to supplement at home. So you can offer your child access to books, projects, and experiments that really excite them, but also you can follow their interests and provide opportunities for deep, meaningful learning. So every child has a unique personality, as we all know. Some kids will boldly express when they are bored. That is definitely my my second child. While others are shy and well-behaved children, they will stay quiet and just endure it. So I've seen this in my oldest daughter. She doesn't want to ever make waves or rock the boat, but she will just mentally check out. So I really want you to pay close attention to how your child responds to their learning environment. So a reflection question for you to help you with this is, does your child openly express boredom, or do they quietly disengage? How can you support them based on their personality? Now, let's talk about strategies to support early bloomers, late bloomers, and on-track kids all the same. The first one is pay attention. Yes, this sounds obvious, but here's what I mean. If your child seems exhausted by new material, slow down. If they're frustrated with an assignment, reduce the workload. If they're bored, speed things up or let them jump ahead. Your child's reactions will tell you what they are needing. The second strategy I have for you is don't try to teach too much, which can be really hard, especially for homeschooling parents. So this one might go totally against everything you thought about homeschooling, but hear me out for a second. Have enthusiastic discussions with your kids instead of lecturing. Pay attention to when they lose interest and don't keep pushing, which can sometimes be hard depending on your personality. Listen more than talk. If your child also asks a question, answer it simply and don't over-explain. So less is more. The third strategy I have is emphasize that there's no hurry. So as parents, we sometimes rush kids through their learning because we're trying to stay on track. But unless you're legally required to meet specific deadlines, there's really no rush. So let your kids go as fast or as slow as they want. Trust their internal timeline. The fourth strategy I have for you is to respect the natural life cycle of interests. So this means some kids will obsess over a topic for months or possibly years, while others jump from interest to interest very quickly, and both are totally okay. So for example, my oldest daughter wanted to write a book. She got partway through and then she lost steam, but instead of forcing her to finish, I just reminded her this. I just said to her, I'm so proud of you. You took your interest seriously and gave it a shot. This project will always be here when you're ready to pick it up again. So let your child reflect on what they've learned rather than the fact that they didn't finish. And I'll tell you, my daughter then picked up her book writing again a few months later when she wanted to get back into it. Strategy number 5 is don't rush independence. So we all want kids to be independent, but pushing too soon can have negative emotional effects. So trust their timing. Next up, I have keep the whole person in mind. So instead of hyper focusing on academic skills, think about the adult you want them to become. What qualities do you want to nurture in your child? Is that curiosity, problem solving, emotional intelligence? When we focus on the whole child, it shifts the whole approach to our education. So with those strategies in mind, I have these reflection questions for you to help you think more deeply about these strategies. So which of these strategies do you think your child needs the most right now? And how can you better honor your child's natural learning rhythm? All right, friends, I hope you found this video helpful. If you know another parent who could benefit from this message, please share it with them. And if you would like more support, grab my free PDF download in the description below at everlearnacademy.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have a fabulous day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.